Hi, my name is Ryan O'Connell and welcome to this training video, Azure Network Security Group. Again, we're going to do a 10,000 foot overview and a basic of what is an Azure Network Security Group. And of course, we're going to go into the Azure portal and we're going to create our very first NSG. An Azure Network Security Group provides control over network traffic flowing in and out of your services running in Azure. A network security group can be applied to a subnet and a virtual network, thus provide efficient mechanisms to administer access control rules and updates across multiple VMs within your infrastructure. The Azure Network Security is comprised of two layers, the VM layer and the subnet layer. It uses specific properties such as source and destination IP, source and destination port, priority, protocol, direction. It specifies if it's an inbound or outbound traffic and an action that determines if the packet should be allowed or denied access to your infrastructure. The Azure Network Security Group, or NSG, in Azure is a way to activate a rule or access control list which allow or deny network traffic to your virtual machine instances in your virtual network. NSGs can be associated with subnets or individual virtual machines instances within a subnet. Of course, is an NSG a firewall? An Azure firewall is an OSI level 4 and level 7, while an NSG is level 3 and level 4. An Azure firewall is a comprehensive, robust service that offers several features to regulate traffic and many more tools to help you manage and protect your infrastructure. An NSG acts more like a basic firewall that filters traffic at the network layer. The Azure firewall is adept at analyzing and filtering level 3, level 4, and level 7 packets and traffic, where an NSG only does level 3. And again, it's just basic network filtering. Other security group tips that you need to know about your NSG: when planning your NSGs, you only have to worry about the IP address which are assigned to your businesses, which means that you can ignore anything assigned to the Azure Infrastructure Service, such as DNS, DHCP, and etc. If you are using load balancers, you only need to worry about the source and destination of the computer or service, not the IP address used by the load balancer itself. So it takes away that administrative task from you, which is really great. Again, let's dive into the portal and let's go and deploy an Azure Network Security Group. But before we do, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I want to thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel, and I want to thank you for connecting to me on LinkedIn. And I just want you to know you guys are just awesome Azure gurus. So that being said, let's dive into the portal and let's get this lab done. Hi, as you can see, I've gone ahead and logged into the Azure portal. I've navigated to resource groups. I'm going to click create, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in a name that I've got out in Notepad called resource group and click create and click create. This is going to go away and it's going to create that resource group for us. Once that resource group has been created, we can then go ahead and create our network security group. So I'm going to go to the bell notification at the top here, confirm my resource group has been created. I'm going to dismiss that notification. At the top, I'm going to type in network. I'm going to select network security group. I'm going to click create, and I'm going to go ahead and choose my NSG lab. I'm going to go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to call it Auckland Network Security Group. I'm going to go next. I'm going to go next. I'm not going to worry about tagging for now. And then I'm going to go ahead and let that validation process complete and click create. And this is going to go away and create that network security group for us. Once that network security group has been created, we will then go ahead and create a virtual machine and put that virtual machine in that network security group. So as you can see, the deployment is in progress, and it shouldn't take too long, and it's done. I'm going to go to resource groups, and as you can see in my network security resource group, I don't have any RDP ports open. So I'm going to go over to virtual machines. I'm going to click create virtual machine, and then I'm going to go ahead and choose my NSG lab. I'll call this NSG FS01. for network security group file server 1. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to give it a username. I'm going to type in a password. I'm going to confirm my password. I'm going to disable RDP because I don't want that. We are going to open that up in our network security group section. I'm going to click disks. I'm going to select dev test from the drop down menu. And I'm going to go ahead and select networking. Now when I get to networking, I'm going to click advanced. I'm going to click the drop down menu here and select my Auckland NSG network security group that I had created. I'm not selecting the resource group, I'm selecting the network security group. So I'm going to go ahead and go next. Underneath management, I'm going to disable boot diagnostics, and I'm going to turn off auto shutdown on the VMs. I'm going to leave everything as default and go next. I'm going to go next. I'm not going to worry about tagging. I'm going to go review, and this is going to go ahead and review or validate our settings. Once our validation has passed, I will click the create button to create that virtual machine. This validation shouldn't take too long to complete. As you can see, it's pretty quick. I'm going to go ahead and click create. Now this will create our virtual machine. It shouldn't take too long to create, so we'll just wait while this creates. It normally does it pretty quick, within a couple of seconds or a minute or two, so it shouldn't take too long. And as you can see, it was pretty quick. If I go to resource, we can see I have my virtual machine there. I'm going to click connect. I'm going to download the RDP client, and I'm going to go ahead and click download. So I'm going to go ahead and click connect, and I'm going to go ahead and click connect again, and we should get a timeout. This should not allow us to connect because we haven't got RDP port 3389 open. But let's just confirm that that is the case. So we'll just wait a second or two, and there we go. As you can see, we've got that error. It cannot download. So I'm going to go ahead and close that down, and I'm going to go ahead and navigate back to my resource group. And in my resource group, I'm going to select NSG Lab, and I'm going to navigate to my network security group. In my network security group, let's go and add an RDP rule by clicking the inbound security rules. Click add, and I'm going to open up port 3389, which is for RDP. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm just going to change this so that I know what it is. 3389, and I'll call this RDP, and just so that I know what it is, I can say RDP underscore and click add. That's going to go ahead and add that rule for us. Let's go and add an outbound rule, just so that we know how to do it as well. So I'm going to click on outbound rules. I'm going to click add, and again I'm going to open port 3389. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to call this port 3389, and we'll just call it RDP. We'll just call it RDP, and we'll add that rule there. And if I go back into my overview, I can see that those ports have been added. And you can see here the security rule has been created. I'm just going to close this down, and of course I'm going to dismiss all that. We can do a refresh to make sure that that RDP port is there, and as you can see it is. And you may ask, why do we have an orange warning sign? Well, if we click on the RDP port and I scroll down, it'll tell you here, we recommend using a private VPN connection because internet access is open, or just-in-time access. We're not too worried about that because this is a lab. I'm going to close this down. The next thing we want to do is we want to go to subnets, and we want to associate that subnet with that VNet that we have. And of course, we want to select the default subnet name, and I'm going to click OK. And this is going to go ahead and add that subnet for us. Now we can try our RDP access again and see if we are successful. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our RDP client again. I'm going to click connect. And what would you know? As you can see now, I'm being prompted for a username and password. I'm going to go ahead and type in my password. And I'm going to go ahead and type in my password and username, wrong way around. And click connect. And it's opening up on another window. I'm going to click yes to allow access. And soon as that RDP session has been enabled, I will just drag it over to show you that we have successfully connected to our server. So in our little lab, in this 7 minutes or so, or 10 minutes, you have learned how to create a resource group, how to create a network security group, and how to add a virtual machine to that security group. So we've connected successfully. I'm going to go ahead and close this virtual machine down. I'll just wait for virtual machine service manager to complete. Once that's completed, I will go ahead and just shut that down. I'm going to turn this off because I'm not too concerned about that. And I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect from here and click yes. So that's how you create a network security group. You can go into the rules here. Just bear in mind the lowest rule always takes precedence over the higher rules. I could go ahead and click add, and I could add any other rule I wanted to. For example, if I wanted to add RDP, I could have selected it from there and it would have added it for me automatically, or I could have gone down and selected FTP and added FTP there. So that's how you create rules and add rules using network security groups. Again, if I go to the overview tab, this will give me an overview. I want to show you something else really cool. If we go over to resource groups and I click on my resource group and I click resource visualizer, this is just an awesome tool that Microsoft have given us. It helps us to visualize our infrastructure. So I can go ahead and hover my mouse over this, and this will tell me more information about my network adapter, about my public IP address, as well as my virtual network, and of course my network security group. The cool thing is you can actually click on this and drag these and make them suit. So I could do that. I could drag that over there, and of course I could come down and drag that there, and that allows me to visualize what's going on my network. I'm going to go ahead and close this down, and as I normally do in all my labs, the first thing we want to do is go and clean up our lab so that we can use this resource again and we're not being charged for those resources. So I'm going to click on my resource group. I'm going to highlight my resource group by highlighting, right mouse click and say copy. I'm going to delete everything in that resource group. So I'm going to click delete resource group. I'm going to paste the name in there and click delete. Now bear in mind that's going to delete everything in that resource group. So in a real world production environment, I would stress that you be very careful about doing this. Confirm with your manager, confirm with your supervisor if it's okay to go ahead and delete that resource group. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would like to thank you for taking the time to connect with me on LinkedIn. But more importantly, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We'll just wait for a minute or two for this resource to clean up, and then we will go ahead and close out this lab. And as you can see, that security group has successfully been deleted. So that's just absolutely awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and close that down. I'm going to go ahead and do a refresh, and there we go. So in this lab, again, you've learned how to create a resource group and create a network security group, create a virtual machine. We've deployed that virtual machine to that network security group. We've created a port rule for remote desktop using port 3389 for RDP, and we've tested that rule. We have successfully connected to our virtual machine, and of course we've gone back and cleaned up our resources. Again, I'd like to thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for connecting with me on LinkedIn. And most importantly, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. You be awesome, you Azure gurus, and see you in the next video.